So on this demo, I shall be throwing a bit of paint on, throwing a bit of water on, see what happens, a bit of scrubbing here and a bit of dry brush. This is a perfect opportunity here for me to experiment because I'm starting from the first wash because I forgot to press record. So it was quite a good learning curve. So it could be a good one to watch to see, what you can achieve by being a bit blasé, confident, and throwing some paint on and see what happens. Laid the first wash in. And I've got my tone of values hopefully correct in the sky, which is by not going too dark, slightly darker for these distant mountains. And I've just laid in a blue, again, not too dark in tonal value because I'm saving my darks for these rocks, which I'm about to paint now. Got a soft edge here to aim for that. Quite saturated in the warmth here. So the hands are yellow, quite strong, and not too dark in here, which will allow me to add some darks in. So let's have a go at painting the stronger parts here now. So what I wanted to show on this demo, so I forgot to press record on the first bit, which I would normally be putting this on my main website. So I shall have to repaint again for the website. But I thought rather than just throw this away, that I'm in a good position to carry on here, I could perhaps talk about warm and cool colours again. So I've got a warm colour there. Now I've just mixed a blue. If I throw that into there, we're going to get a neutral. And then just the blue again. So we're just going to make this a whole lot more interesting. So I've got a few references that are very similar to this. So if you remember the website and you're watching this video, there will be a full version without missing the first part. So that instantly makes it interesting. And if you're using blue and orange, complementary colours, when they mix together, you're going to get a neutral. So we get a nice transition from the bright orange to a neutral to the strong blue. And then I can go warmer again down here. Bit of neutral tint. So sharp edges here. I really want to draw the eye to this rock here. And again, I'll just mix all this up in here, which will give me a grey, which is quite a neutral grey really. But if you have bright colours everywhere, they lose their effect. So it's good to have some neutral colours in here. And nice strong dark, but rather than just neutral tint, I can steer it to be a cool dark to go in there, connect it into there, and then maybe some red for a warmer dark. So it would be very easy just to paint this scene orange that side and black that side, kind of almost like it is in the reference. But we can make it a lot more interesting by just varying those colors and temperatures. So again, warm to cool, even got a bit of green there. And now instead of having a sharp edge along here, we break it up. That's going to be more realistic to the waves crashing up and so on against the rock there. And we can also, there's going to be lights hitting this rock here, bouncing onto the surface here, which will perhaps give us some reflected light there. And little things like that add those elements of realism. It's a perfect opportunity to experiment and play about on this demo because it's kind of no longer any use as a full demo because I forgot to press record for the first part. Doesn't often happen. We can see here by lifting out, I'm getting different effects. Bit of texture in there. But that's probably enough because you can overdo it. So we've got a large mass here, which again would be very easy to just make it very uninteresting. But maybe if we use a bit of dry brush for a bit of texture, vary it, more orange, and then throw some cooler colours in. And even maybe just throw it on there and just let it run down, see what happens. Just a bit of water on its own. And then we come down to these darks, which need thick paint. If your paint's too watery, it'll dry too light. So I'll start off with a cool blue. Connect it to there. I'm going to connect all my darks up here so they can be dark there, bring it through under those rocks. And this is all very cool. So if I now throw some warmth in there. And you'll find if you end up in a similar, well, see, you won't end up if you're not making a YouTube video and forget to press record, but you know, if you just play about with watercolor without worrying about the masterpiece, that's when you discover all these wonderful effects you can create if you just go at it confidently. But understandably, we're normally too worried about spoiling it, so we're just really careful we don't do all this. All right, so some directional lines. There's rocks there. Again, keep it interesting. Slightly warmer. Connect it up into there. Bit of water. And as again, I've got nothing to lose on this demo. Let's just splash some water on there. Let it create some magic. The title for this video could be painting watercolor when you've got nothing to lose. Because really I had an option to just scrap this, turn it over and start again, paint again, but you know, it's a bit shame because I had a good start on it. The joys of being a YouTuber and getting to press record. Using my fingers just to create some textures in those rocks, not to lose all that light. And then we can connect these rocks with a bit of water. The biggest killer for watercolors is not having enough fresh paint. You know, if you've got dried up wells, if you don't regularly paint, you struggle to get enough paint on your brush and it destroys you before you even start. These are the reflections on those rocks. Bring that down, wash into wet, put in marks. Again, just splash some water on there. Probably a good idea to cover that area if you do that. I got lucky there, I didn't splash all over the area I didn't want to splash on. So again, you know, just decide which direction your light is coming in, which is through here. These sides of the rocks are receiving light. I use some blue, cool it down. If you want a sharp edge, obviously you need to wait for that to dry. But I'm impatient because I need to start painting this again in a moment because of another demo, my membership, which I shall probably post this on my other YouTube channel. So if you're watching this, I have full demos on my website membership. So I can use a bit of water just to paint the reflection there. Connect that up through there. And just create a use the water to melt it all together. Blue in there. We've gone cool, back to warm. Soft edge, hard edges, and quite liked in the reference where it's got that translucent blue that is just being cast across the water there. And it's not actually a bad thing that's happened that, I've got to paint this again in a moment because I'm almost having like a little practice run. And there'll be things that I've done in this that have worked and things that haven't. So I shall try and do the things that did work and leave out the things that didn't work. A little bit darker in there. Got some run backs there, but it's still damp enough that I can fix that and go a little bit darker in there. I think I need some darks off of there. Connect it up into that. And then running the risk of an overworked painting if I don't stop. So I think I could go with a little bit of warmth in there. As I can still experiment with this a little bit, I shall try and put a sharp edge in there. Just using a damp brush, add a bit of light. I think it's just a case of just be careful not to overdo it. I think I could go some slightly larger areas here, so I know when I paint this again in a moment that I need to make sure I keep plenty of light along there. It needs it. A sharper edge. There. Swirls. Just take a dark, I think, just to push the contrast on that wave a little bit. Add a bit of blue. I think a little bit of warmth, and then I shall leave it alone, and then go and do my demo and remember to press record. We've got some orange in there, but I still want it warm. It's a neutral tint with a bit of pyrrole orange for a warm dark for those rocks. Bit of dry brush. Just one or two rocks on the beach. Bigger ones. And I could probably splatter with this brush as well. That's going over my arm. So I'm glad I carried on, even though it's not necessarily a proper demo, but hopefully it might sort of show you an insight into if you just sort of paint very freely and fast and a bit experimental at times. Some things work, some things don't. So I've got a painting out of it. For my liking, it's possibly a little bit overworked, but that's often happens when you're experimenting with things. But you know, this is all quite nice here, how this is all just run down and created some interesting effects. That actually worked quite well by keeping it quite soft. It sends it back, save the harder contrasts for these foreground rocks. I'll probably use that when I paint this again, or a similar scene like it. So there you go. Hope you found that useful, and good luck if you decide to have a go at painting something similar, and say have a go at being a bit spontaneous, push those contrasts, paint warm against cool, let the washes run in, drag the brush up, splatter some paint on, flick a bit of paint on, see what happens. So until next time, bye for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check the link in the description to my other channels where I paint full watercolor demonstrations and oil painting demonstrations, and my website where I've got full membership options. So until next time, bye for now.